Hello, my name is Gemma and I'm from the Wishing Well project. This presentation is about sensory exploration. This is week 8 and this presentation will focus on the visual system. This is focusing on from last week's presentation on the tactile system. So far, we have covered the auditory system, the olfactory system, oral sensory system, vestibular system, proprioceptive system, and tactile system. This presentation will focus on the visual system. To recap on the tactile sensory system, I have put together some red flag indicators to help you assess if your child has some difficulties in this area. So first of all, if they avoid getting hands or face messy, if they avoid activities like finger painting or playing with Play-Doh or eating messy food, if they have extreme reactions or tantrums during toothbrushing, bathing, haircuts, or dressing, if they have difficulty tolerating certain clothing or textures on skin, such as tags on clothing, if they need to touch everything and everyone, such as craving hugs and closeness with others, fidgeting with objects and or seeking out textures and touch experiences, if they seem unaware when their hands or face are messy, if they appear to be unaware of pain, or if they avoid hugs, touch, or other physical contact. Just a reminder again, this will have a mixture of hyper and hyposensitivities on these red flag indicators. So just if any of these sort of jump out at you as being tactile sensory differences that your child may have. Okay, so moving on to the visual sensory system, which is what we're focusing on in today's presentation. Just to give you a bit of an overview, really. So the eyes and the brain work together to interpret information that's all around us, and the visual system is how we receive and process information through our eyes. The brain identifies information and it remembers objects and it contextualizes objects and items, and it remembers information such as colour, depth and location, and it's able to identify this sort of information. If our visual system, and if a young person's visual system is working well and working healthily, it can automatically focus on the details in the environment, on which ones are important, and it can filter out which ones are not important. So it's able to accurately identify what's necessary and what isn't. And it's able to kind of focus on which stimulus is needed and which stimulus isn't needed. So if you think about a healthy visual system, being able to filter out the information that is needed and not needed. Think about that in terms of somebody now who has hypersensitivity and difficulties with their visual system. So we're going to talk about children or young people now that might find things challenging. So these individuals might notice the tiniest piece of fluff on the carpet. They might complain about moths or air particles flying. They may dislike bright lights. Individuals may look down most of the time. They may be frightened by sharp flashes of light. When exposed to bright lights, they will cover, squint, cry or fuss or complain of headache. They may be easily distracted by visual stimuli such as decorations, toys, windows, mirrors. They may avoid playing outdoors or claim it's too bright outside, and they may avoid eye contact. So if you think about somebody with hypersensitivity, think about what a bedroom might be like, or think about what their classroom might be like, for example, and think about the amount of stimulus that might be in that sort of environment and how they might be finding that sort of environment. So this is somebody with hyposensitivity. So they may have problems with their visual system, but are hyposensitive. So these individuals are attracted to light, so they may stare at the sun or a bright light bulb. They are fascinated with reflections and bright coloured objects. So if they go into an unfamiliar room, for example, they may have to walk around it, touching everything before they settle down. They may have difficulty in identifying differences in puzzles, in pictures, in words or objects. If they're trying to find a certain item in a drawer or something like that, if it looks similar to others, they might struggle to identify it. They might have difficulty visually tracking, so following something across. They may have trouble finding certain items on their plates. They may have difficulties with depth perception, so they might think something's nearer or further away than it actually is. And they may have difficulty attending to items with little or no contrast. They can't quite tell the difference between certain things. So let's look at the cheat sheet and look at visual avoiding behaviours and visual seeking behaviours. Let's start with visual avoiding. So a child might cover their eyes, squint or screen out sights. They might avoid bright lights or sunlight. They might withdraw from participating in groups or in group movement. They might be scared of moving objects, avoid direct eye contact. They might get frequent headaches. They might seem unaware of contrasting colours. They might seem clumsy due to being unaware of objects in a path. They might rub eyes, or they might seem unable to determine distance. In contrast, there are visual seeking behaviours. So a child might stare at bright lights that flicker or direct sunlight, stare at moving objects, move and shake their head during fine motor skills activities. They might hold items close for inspection, seem unaware of new people or items in an environment. They might exhibit difficulty focusing on stationary objects. They might frequently lose their place on a page, or they might seek visual stimulation such as spinning, patterns, fans and fences. visual activities to try if you find that your child perhaps needs some support in this area and has some visual differences. So concentration, so this is like a matching pairs game. Balloon games, so this would be like just playing bat and ball, but using your hands, and for the ball using the balloon instead. Complete this picture, so finding a picture that's part done and asking your child to finish the other part. So if you did it sort of symmetrically and did part of the picture, one half, and ask the child to do the other half. Hide and seek, following cooking instructions, tracing, word searches, puzzles, balance beam, weaving and sewing, ping pong, scavenger hunts. Scavenger hunts could be done by colour. So, for example, you could ask a child to find something each colour of the rainbow, or you could ask a child to find something for each letter of a certain word, or you could ask them to find something that was seasonal, so you could give them a list of things that are seasonal, or you could ask them to find a list of things for a certain number of letters in the alphabet, or you could ask them to find a certain, you could ask them to follow clues and make it like a treasure hunt, whatever you feel is appropriate for the age of the child. Lego building to a visual model. So that's if you've got some instructions, or maybe you could take photographs of the different steps, or ask the child to follow those. Alphabet I Spy, that one's quite straightforward, but is really good practice. Obstacle courses. Obstacle courses are good to do inside as well as outside, but obviously making sure that you can do it in a space that's safe and big enough to do so. But that's quite a fun one to be able to do if you're able to do it in your environment. Thank you for listening to this presentation on the visual sensory system. If you have any questions or you would like any further information, please contact me on my email address at gemma.edwards@wishingwellproject.net, or contact me on the office number at 01270 256 919. I will soon be putting together the next presentation on the next sensory system, so hopefully you'll find that helpful too. Thank you.